Aquarius, this message found you right on time. Because something in your life is already ending, even if no one has said goodbye yet. You didn't lose them. You didn't fail. You didn't change for the worse. You simply stopped overloving. And the moment you did, the universe started clearing space for something that finally matches who you are becoming. Pause for a second. Breathe. Feel your chest. If your heart feels tired but lighter, this message is for you. You've been strong for so long. You've been giving when no one knew how much it cost you. And now something is shifting beneath the surface of your life. Sparkles, before we go deeper. Type "I receive" in the comments if you're ready to release what no longer serves you. Because what's coming next is the part of your story where everything finally begins to make sense. Crescent moon, you can feel it now? Can't you? That quiet heaviness behind your ribs? Not pain. Not sadness exactly. Just the sense that something inside you has been carrying too much for too long. You didn't notice when it began. It happened slowly. One compromise at a time. One moment where you said it's okay, even when your heart whispered that it wasn't. And now, in the stillness, you finally see it. You were the one who adjusted. You were the one who softened the truth. You were the one who stayed, even when your spirit was asking for air. It's strange how love can feel like effort when it's unbalanced. How it can turn into quiet endurance. How it can look like loyalty while slowly erasing you. You weren't weak. You were generous. You weren't foolish. You were open. But somewhere along the way, you began to disappear inside your own kindness. Have you felt that moment yet when your chest tightens for no clear reason, and you realize you've been holding your breath for years? That is not exhaustion. That is your soul asking to come home. You see, Aquarius, you were never meant to love from a place of self-abandonment. You were meant to love from expansion, from freedom, from truth. And the reason this realization feels so sharp is because it arrives when you are finally strong enough to hear it. It's not an ending, it's a return. A return to the part of you that remembers who you were before love became something you had to earn. There is a quiet grief in noticing how long you ignored yourself. Not anger, just tenderness. A soft ache for the version of you who tried so hard to make something work because you believed love meant staying. But love was never meant to cost you your voice. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture your younger self standing in front of you. Still hopeful. Still open. Still believing that being chosen meant being worthy. What would you tell them now? Would you tell them to stay longer or to trust themselves sooner? There is a gentle courage growing in you now. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just steady. It feels like exhaling for the first time in a long while. It feels like choosing peace over explanation. It feels like honoring your own boundaries without apology. And here is the quiet truth you may not have considered yet. You didn't become colder. You became clearer. You didn't stop caring. You stopped overextending. You didn't close your heart. You finally learned where it belongs. That soft shift inside you is not distance. It is alignment. And alignment always feels like unfamiliar ground before it feels like home. So let me ask you something, gently. If you no longer had to prove your worth, who would you choose to be? Who would you love if you were no longer afraid of being left? The answers are already rising in you. You don't need to chase them. Just allow them. Because the version of you that needed to overgive is slowly stepping back. And the version of you that knows your value is quietly stepping forward. And as you stand here in this in-between space, something unseen is already rearranging around you. Not to take, but to make room. And that is where the real story begins. There is a quiet moment that arrives after everything you have just felt. Not dramatic, not loud. Just a stillness that settles into your bones like dusk after a long day. It comes when you realize you are no longer trying to hold the story together. You are no longer reaching back for something that already slipped through your fingers. You are simply standing where you are, breathing, letting the truth be what it is. This is not the kind of change you announce. It does not begin with a decision. It begins with a gentle refusal to keep pretending that you are okay when you are not. One day, you notice you are quieter than before. Not because you are withdrawing, but because you no longer feel the need to explain yourself to be understood. You stop offering reasons. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head. You stop carrying the weight of what someone else cannot face. And in that silence, something remarkable happens. You feel lighter. Not because everything is resolved, but because you are no longer forcing something that was never meant to stay the same. It is a strange kind of relief, the kind that feels like standing at the edge of an ocean at night. You cannot see the horizon, but you can sense the vastness waiting beyond what you once knew. Have you felt that subtle shift yet, when the old patterns no longer fit, but the new ones have not fully formed? It can feel lonely here. Not the lonely of being unloved, but the lonely of becoming someone new. This is where your soul has been guiding you all along. Not away from people, but toward yourself. Not toward distance, but toward truth. You may still think about them. That is natural. But it no longer hurts the same way. There is space around the memory now. Air. Room to breathe. And in that space, you are beginning to feel something unfamiliar. Peace. Not the kind that comes from closure, but the kind that comes from finally choosing not to carry what is not yours. You did not lose anything here. You released what could not grow with you. And now, without trying, life begins to respond. Small moments arrive. Unexpected conversations. A sense of being gently supported by something unseen. It is as if the world noticed the room you made and quietly stepped forward to fill it. Not all at once. Not in ways you can always explain. But in ways you can feel. You may catch yourself smiling for no reason, or noticing how the air feels different against your skin, or sensing a subtle excitement about what lies ahead, even if you cannot yet name it. This is alignment. Not perfection. Not certainty. Just a deep inner yes. And here is the part that may surprise you. You did not need to chase this. You did not need to force it. You simply had to stop holding on to what no longer matched your becoming. So let me ask you softly, what if this moment is not about loss at all, but about finally allowing your life to breathe? What if everything that is finding its way to you now is doing so because you made room to receive it? You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where your growth has been guiding you. And as you stand here in this open space, there is a quiet current moving beneath the surface of your life. Something unseen. Something gentle. Something preparing to meet you in ways that will soon feel unmistakably real. And you will know, without a doubt, that this shift was never an ending. It was an opening. There is a moment when the world around you seems to respond before you even understand what has changed. You may still feel unsure, still finding your footing, still learning how to live inside this new space you created. Yet somehow, someone else feels the shift before you do. Not through words, not through logic, but through the absence of your energy. They notice it in the pauses between messages, in the way the air feels different when your name is not spoken, in the silence where your emotional presence used to live. You did not disappear. You simply stopped offering what was slowly draining you. And that quiet withdrawal feels louder to them than all your past efforts combined. It is strange, isn't it? How people feel your absence more clearly than they ever felt your devotion. Not because they loved you deeply, but because they grew accustomed to the way you held the emotional weight for both of you. They felt safe in your care. They felt anchored in your understanding. They rested inside the space you created for them. But they did not always return the same steadiness to you. And now, when that space is no longer freely given, they feel the emptiness where your emotional labor once lived. You may still be adjusting, still wondering if you did the right thing, still learning how to be with yourself without carrying someone else. Yet somewhere, quietly, they are already aware. Your absence has become a presence of its own. Not to punish, not to prove, but to reveal. There is no anger here, only clarity. You are beginning to see that being needed is not the same as being valued. That being missed is not the same as being loved. That being relied upon is not the same as being chosen. Have you ever noticed how someone reaches for you the moment you stop reaching for them? It is not because they suddenly understand you. It is because they feel the loss of what you once gave so freely. And this is where your strength begins to deepen. Not in hardening your heart, but in honoring it. You are no longer responsible for carrying what someone else refuses to hold. You are no longer required to be the emotional home for someone who never learned how to build one for you. This is not rejection. It is rebalancing. You are returning your energy to where it belongs. To your breath, to your peace, to the quiet places inside you that are ready to grow. You may feel a flicker of guilt. That is natural. You were taught that love meant sacrifice, that connection meant endurance, that loyalty meant staying even when it cost you. But love is not meant to leave you empty. It is meant to expand you, and as you reclaim yourself, the echo of your absence will continue to move through the lives of those who once leaned on you. Not as a punishment, but as a reminder of what they did not protect. Let that be enough. You do not need to explain. You do not need to justify. You do not need to return. You are allowed to choose the life that feels like breathing again. So tell me gently, what would it feel like to be met instead of carried? What would it feel like to be held instead of holding? That possibility is already drawing closer, even if you cannot yet see its shape. For now, simply remain where you are, in this quiet strength, in this honest space. Because the more you honor yourself, the more the world will learn how to meet you. And something new is already listening for your heartbeat. There is a different kind of tired that settles in now. Not the ache of longing, but the soft weariness that comes after you finally tell yourself the truth. It feels like setting something heavy down after carrying it for miles. Your hands still remember the weight, even though your arms are finally free. You begin to notice how much of your energy was spent holding space for someone who never learned how to hold themselves. How often you softened their edges, smoothed over their silence, translated their distance into hope. And slowly, with tenderness, you see what was never yours to carry. You were not meant to be their anchor. You were not meant to absorb their storms. You were not meant to turn yourself into a place they could hide from their own becoming. You were meant to walk beside someone, not behind them, not beneath them, not in front of them, but with them. There is a quiet grief in realizing this. Not for what you lost, but for what you gave away without ever being asked. Yet even this grief feels gentle now, because it carries wisdom instead of blame. You no longer see yourself as the one who failed. You see yourself as the one who finally grew. And growth has a way of changing the shape of everything. It asks you to stop shrinking, to make others comfortable. It invites you to loosen the habit of earning love through endurance. It reminds you that your presence is not a debt you owe anyone. You begin to feel a new boundary forming around your heart. Not a wall, not a shield, but a quiet knowing of where you end and another begins. And in that knowing there is peace. Have you felt it yet? That moment when you realize you no longer want to rescue anyone? Not because you are cold, but because you are awake. Because you finally understand that love is not self-erasure. It is not waiting to be chosen. It is not proving your worth through sacrifice. Love is recognition. It is mutual care. It is safety that flows both ways. You did not fail at love. You simply outgrew a version of yourself that believed pain was proof of devotion. And now, standing here, you can sense something quietly rearranging within you. Your breath feels deeper. Your chest feels lighter. Your heart feels less guarded and more discerning. This is not closing. This is clarity. You are learning to trust the quiet voice inside you that says, I deserve more than survival. You are learning to choose connection that does not require you to disappear. And as you do, something inside your spirit begins to lift. It feels like stepping into sunlight after years of standing in shade. Not blinding, not overwhelming, just warm. There will be moments when the old reflex returns, when you want to reach back, when you wonder if you should have tried harder. When that happens, place your hand on your heart. Feel the steady rhythm of your own life. And remember, you are not here to save anyone. You are here to live. So let me ask you softly, what would it feel like to be loved without having to perform for it? What would it feel like to rest inside a connection that does not ask you to disappear? That possibility is no longer far away. It is quietly moving toward you, matching the version of you that is finally ready to receive. And as you stand in this new understanding, you may begin to sense a deeper calm beneath everything. A calm that whispers you are free now. And this freedom is only the beginning. There is a stillness that follows release. Not empty, not lonely, but wide, like a quiet sky after a long storm has passed. You may notice it in the smallest moments. When you wake and the air feels softer. When you realize you are no longer checking your phone for something that never came. When your body relaxes in ways you did not know it could. This is what happens when you stop standing in the way of your own becoming. Without trying, you begin to sense new currents moving around you. Not rushing, not demanding, just gently finding you. It feels unfamiliar at first because chaos used to feel like chemistry. Intensity used to feel like connection. But now, something quieter is arriving. And somehow, it feels more real. You start noticing people who see you without needing to fix you. Conversations that breathe instead of burn. Spaces where your nervous system can finally rest. It does not arrive with fireworks, it arrives with relief. And for a moment, you might wonder why calm ever felt so strange. Why safety once felt boring. Why peace seemed too simple to be true. But maybe, Aquarius, peace was never meant to impress you. Maybe it was meant to hold you. The universe has been listening to the language of your boundaries. Every time you chose yourself, every time you let go without bitterness, every time you trusted your own quiet knowing, those choices sent a signal, not of loss, but of readiness. You are no longer asking for connection that requires you to disappear. You are inviting connection that recognizes your full shape, and the universe responds to clarity. What is coming now will not need to prove itself through drama. It will not pull you into confusion. It will not keep you guessing where you stand. It will feel steady, soft, open. There is a gentle shift in the way you carry yourself. Your shoulders feel lighter. Your breath moves deeper. Your heart begins to trust the space it is in. This is alignment, not a moment, a way of moving. You may feel the old patterns try to call you back. The urge to fill silence, to chase, to fix. When that happens, pause. Let the moment pass through you like a wave. And ask yourself quietly, does this feel like the life I am growing into? Because you are growing. Even when you cannot see it, the universe is not replacing what you lost. It is reflecting who you are becoming. And who you are becoming is someone who chooses peace over performance. Someone who values depth over intensity. Someone who no longer confuses love with emotional labor. This is not a lesser story. It is a truer one. There is beauty in connections that do not need to be loud to be alive. There is strength in stability that does not need to be dramatic to be meaningful. There is magic in relationships that feel like home instead of a test. Let yourself receive this new rhythm. Let it move at its own pace. Let it show you what it means to be met without effort. And here, in this quiet expansion, let me ask you something gently. If calm is what arrives when you finally choose yourself, what kind of life might unfold when you stop mistaking chaos for love? Stay with this feeling. There is more light ahead. There is a quiet courage growing inside you now. Not the kind that announces itself. The kind that changes the way you stand in your own life. It moves through you when you realize you no longer ache for what once defined you. When the memory of them feels lighter. Not erased. Just no longer in control of your direction. You can finally see it with gentler eyes. They were never meant to be your forever. They were a mirror, a moment, a passage. Some people enter our lives not to stay, but to awaken something that has been sleeping inside us. And you, Aquarius, have awakened. You learned what it felt like to stretch yourself too far, to pour into spaces that could not hold you, to call endurance love, to confuse hope with sacrifice. But you also learned where your limits live. You learned the cost of silence. You learned the strength hidden inside your no. There is no bitterness here now, only understanding. Because the truth is, you did not lose them. You outgrew the version of yourself who needed them. Your nervous system has changed. It no longer responds to chaos as if it were passion. It no longer feels safe inside uncertainty. It now seeks something steadier, something real. This is not weakness. This is wisdom settling into your bones. You may notice how your body reacts differently now. How your chest tightens when old patterns appear. How your breath becomes shallow around emotional instability. Your spirit is guiding you back to yourself. That guidance is not loud. It is subtle. It arrives as discomfort, as hesitation, as a quiet sense that something no longer fits. And instead of pushing through, you are learning to listen. This is where you begin to understand that losing them was not a punishment. It was a redirection. The universe did not remove something good. It cleared space for something truer. You could not have found this version of yourself if you had stayed where you were shrinking. You could not have met your own depth while standing in a place that required you to be smaller. So, you walked away. Not in anger, not in fear, but in alignment with who you are becoming. There is a new relationship forming now. One with yourself. You speak to yourself more kindly. You rest without guilt. You choose peace even when the old part of you craves familiarity. And in this gentler way of living, you begin to feel a different kind of strength. One that does not fight for love. One that allows love to meet you. You are no longer chasing connection. You are attracting resonance. That shift changes everything. Take a moment and feel into this truth. Not with your mind, with your body. You are safer than you were before. You are clearer than you were before. You are more yourself than you have ever been. This is what it means to grow beyond what once defined you. And here, in this quiet unfolding, let me ask you something. If you had to lose them to finally recognize your own worth, what kind of life might open when you fully choose yourself? Stay close to this feeling. Your becoming is just beginning, of course, Aquarius. Stay with me here. Let the story keep breathing. There is a softness entering your world now. Not the fragile kind, The kind that comes after storms, when the air feels cleaner and the sky looks wider than before. You may not see it yet, but something is already in motion for you. Quiet, intentional, drawn by the frequency you are finally living from. Because the love meant for you does not rush. It recognizes you by how you hold your life now, by how you protect your peace, by how you no longer abandon yourself to keep someone else close. There is a different rhythm around you. Less tension in your shoulders, more space in your breath. You move through the day without bracing for disappointment. This is how alignment begins to feel. The next connection will not ask you to shrink or explain your worth. You will not feel that familiar pull of anxiety in your chest. There will be no guessing games, no emotional fog. You will sense where you stand without needing proof. You will feel grounded instead of consumed, curious instead of afraid. It will feel natural to receive, not something you have to earn. And that may surprise you at first. Because you have lived for so long in survival mode, you learn to read between the lines, to decode silence, to mistake intensity for depth. But now your heart is learning a new language, one that sounds like ease, one that feels like trust. You are not becoming colder. You are becoming clearer, and clarity attracts honesty. Somewhere, someone is shifting too, not because you asked, not because you waited, but because two paths are quietly aligning. You do not need to search for them. Your life is already guiding you closer. You may meet them in a moment that feels ordinary, a conversation that flows, a shared laugh that lingers longer than expected. There will be no fireworks that burn too fast, only a steady warmth that grows. And when you notice how calm you feel in their presence, you may pause and wonder if something is missing. What is missing is the chaos you no longer need. This love will not awaken old wounds. It will honor how far you have come. Because now, you choose yourself first. You protect your time. You respect your energy. You leave when something feels wrong. And that changes everything. You no longer attract what mirrors your pain. You attract what reflects your growth. There is a quiet confidence in you now, not loud, not performative. It lives in your boundaries, in your patience, in the way you walk away from what cannot meet you. This is the version of you that love has been waiting for. Take a slow breath and feel this moment. Feel how your heart no longer aches the way it used to. Feel how your future feels lighter than your past. You are no longer preparing for loss. You are opening to connection. And here is the question I leave with you tonight. If love arrives in a way that feels peaceful instead of overwhelming, will you trust it enough to let it stay? Stay open, Aquarius. Your next chapter is already moving toward you. Stay with me, Aquarius. Let this moment settle into your chest like a quiet sunrise. There is a gentle hum in the air now, a sense that something unseen is rearranging itself around you. Not in loud ways, not with chaos, but with intention. You may feel it when you pause at night, when the world finally goes still, when your heart is no longer racing toward someone who could not meet you where you stood. There is relief here. Soft, real. You did not lose love. You stopped wasting it on places that could not hold it. That truth is settling into your bones. And as it does, you begin to notice how different your energy feels. You are no longer reaching. You are allowing. The universe is not taking from you. It is making space, like a gardener clearing old roots so new life can grow stronger. What is being removed was never meant to follow you into this next season. You are not too much. You never were. You were simply offering your light to rooms that could not see it, trying to warm hearts that were still frozen, shrinking yourself so someone else could feel bigger. But now you are standing in your full presence, no apology, no explanation. There is a quiet power in you, a calm knowing. You have learned when to stay, and more importantly, when to walk away. This is not loneliness you feel, it is spaciousness. It is the pause before something real arrives. And yes, something is coming, not to rescue you, not to complete you, but to meet you where you already are. Whole, aware, ready. You may notice signs, small synchronicities, conversations that spark your curiosity, moments that feel oddly familiar, as if your future is gently tapping on your shoulder. Trust them, because the path is clearing for what matches you now. Not who you were when you were trying to survive, but who you are becoming. There will be days when you look back and wonder why you stayed so long, why you carried what was never yours to carry. And instead of regret, you will feel gratitude. Gratitude for the strength it took to choose yourself, for the courage to leave what no longer honored your soul. Everything is shifting in your favor. Not all at once, not dramatically, but steadily. You are stepping into a life that feels lighter, a love that feels safer, a future that feels possible again. And when you finally look up and see how far you have come, you may smile softly and realize you were never behind, you were preparing. So breathe, Aquarius. Let the past loosen its grip. Let the present hold you. And here is the question I leave resting in your heart tonight. If the universe is guiding you towards something worthy of you now, are you ready to receive it without fear? You are not losing anything. You are arriving. And this time you are exactly where you belong. Stay with me for just a little longer, Aquarius. Let this final breath land where your heart has been holding so much. Because what you just walked through was not only a story about love, it was a remembering, a return to yourself. You did not lose anything. You released what could not grow with you. And in doing so, you made room for a life that finally feels honest, calm, aligned. There is a new frequency around you now. You may feel it as a quiet confidence, a softness that is no longer afraid of being strong, a knowing that you no longer need to chase what is meant to stay. And here is the surprise. The universe was never testing you. It was training you to recognize what feels true, to choose peace over intensity, depth over drama, connection over survival. You are standing at the edge of a new chapter, not because everything is perfect, but because you are finally willing to be present for your own life. Let this be the moment you trust yourself again, not the version of you that begged to be seen, but the version who now sees themselves clearly. If something in this message touched you, let your voice be part of this space. Share one word in the comments that describes how you feel right now. Your story matters here. And if you are ready to keep walking this path together, subscribe, stay close, and let this channel be a place where your heart can rest. This is not the end. It is the beginning of something deeper. The next message is already forming. The journey continues. Until then, Aquarius, move gently, love boldly, and trust the light within you.